Hello guys, and welcome to Ghost. This is my two-handed and bow stamina Templar build that I like to play personally on my Templar. So this is the build that I pretty much myself main in PvP. I really love this build. It is very fast-paced. It is very rewarding when you play the mechanics of this game properly. It is very intricate as well, so it's a really great build to play, and I think it has a lot of potential, especially in world PvP. As a solo build. So I have included, of course, gameplay footage with this build video of this build in action, but because this is a build that's kind of special to me and I play it a lot, you guys can definitely check out my YouTube channel for just tons of PvP commentary of me playing primarily this build. I like to play other stuff in the commentary too, but a majority of it you will see me playing Ghost. So if at any point during the video you guys like what you see, hit that like button, and if you guys are new here, feel free to hit that subscribe button. And without further ado, let's take a look at this build. So to begin, the big change to the build this patch is that we are a Wood Elf. Now, the reason we went Wood Elf this patch is a couple reasons, but the big reason that we picked Wood Elf is for that 10% bonus movement speed on our dodge roll. The rework of the Hunter's Eye passive is absolutely fantastic for this kind of build. It is going to make our mist form even faster, and that is exactly what we're looking for, is a speed bonus that stacks in our mist form. On top of that, Wood Elf is also going to get the physical spell penetration on dodge roll, which is pretty sweet. 1500 physical penetration is not bad. It's going to up the damage of this build for sure. And then Wood Elf is also going to get the stamina recovery as well as the maximum stamina, and these are both very important for this build because it is kind of lower in the max stam pool, and it can definitely use the recovery as well. Now, you can definitely play a build like this not on a Wood Elf, but to be perfectly honest, I think that Wood Elf is by far the best bet for Ghost next patch, so I have to say Wood Elf is the way to go. So taking a look at our max stat here, we have got 10,000 magicka, we've got almost 22k health, and 26k stamina. So our max pools are not super huge, but they look about the same as they were in the previous patch of Ghost. The maximum magicka is coming in only at 10k. That's a pretty small pool. I would not want to dip below that for Ghost. 22k HP is not bad at all. 20k plus is great for this build. It's a very fast-paced, very mobile and quick build, so we don't need to have a huge hit point pool. 20k plus is enough that we can take that incoming burst and then respond to it in kind. And then finally, we got 26k stam, so this is actually a nice big step up from where we were sitting at last patch. I think last patch with our stam, with the Hacky Joes, we were sitting at around 25k. So this is a little bit more this patch on Ghost, and that's actually due to how the passives have changed. They're not percent based anymore. We get a flat amount to our passive, so Wood Elf getting the flat 2k is going to be better than the old 6% that I used to get on my Nord. So then taking a look at the recoveries on this build, we are going to buff up to before we look at them. We have got 1,200 magicka recovery, 737 health recovery, and then 1,756 stamina recovery. So a pretty good amount of recoveries on Ghost this patch. I actually think this is pretty sweet, to be honest. The magicka recovery is absolutely fantastic. That's where we want to sit. With our tripods as well, we will have a huge amount of magicka sustain, and we should not run out. Our health recovery coming in at 700 plus. This is just awesome for PvP. Health recovery is super great for PvP because it is not halved like other healing sources, so that's going to be fantastic. And on top of it, while we're in mist form, our health recovery will tick as well. And then our stamina recovery coming in at 1,700. That is also really awesome too. Ghost in the past, we've been running a lot lower stamina recovery in the previous patch. Now we are running Restoring Focus, which is going to give us an additional around 480 stamina recovery. So our recovery on this build is looking at 2k plus, around the 2.2k mark. So really nice on the Wood Elf. Alright guys, so let's take a look at our weapon damage and our weapon crit on the build. 4,173 weapon damage on 52.7% weapon crit. Pretty sweet, but when we take a look at our gear, we have got the Sword Singer set on. We have got the Master's Bow for the Infused Enchant. Now, these don't show up on the stat page. We have to attack for the Master Bow, and Sword Singer does not show up on our stat page. But we are sitting at fully buffed 5.4k weapon damage with these two sets. And then finally, we also get the Master Bow increased weapon damage against a poison target, and this is going to be another 450 weapon damage on top. So this patch, if you have the Master's Bow, Ghost is looking at around 5.8k weapon damage. Really, really nice and beefy weapon damage this patch, and I have to attribute that purely to the fact that Bosmer is going to give us that speed bonus and the regen we need so we can dump everything into damage outside of that on the build. So I really, really like this. Honestly, Ghost is looking really fine. This is yet again another fantastic patch to be playing this build. So taking a look at our physical spell resist, when we're standing in our rune, we have got just around 23k physical spell resistance, and then when we walk outside the rune with our buff up, we have got just under 21k spell and just over 20k physical resistance. So that's pretty sweet, and our crit resist is coming in at 2,157, so we've got the 3 impen on this build, so that is a good amount of crit resist for this build. Not the hugest resistances, but like I said, this is a very dodgy build. You're going to be doing a lot of roll dodging, blocking, mist form. You're actively making sure you're not taking that incoming damage instead of trying to tank it out and heal it away. All right, so looking at our Munduses for the build, we are running the Steed, and the Steed is fantastic for this build. We get health recovery and the movement speed. The movement speed is what we really want from it, but the health recovery is also a nice bonus because, of course, that's going to make us a little bit tankier in PvP, and it's really nice for mist form as well. We are a vampire. You have to be a vampire for this build. We use mist form, so there's no way around that. And then finally, for the food we're using, we have got the Orzorga Smoked Bear Haunch. And I really like this food. I've used it on a lot of builds in the past, and it is finally time to bring it onto Ghost. And the reason we've transitioned into this food from the old Tri-Stat recovery food without the health is because we need that HP value on the Bosmer. So we get that bulk HP here, and it essentially allows us to run a lot of stamina glyphs on our gear and just get the HP from here and get a lot of recovery from this as well. And then the potions that we're using on this build are the Tri-Stat potions. We have got all our buffs covered on this spec, so we don't need any buffs from our potions, just the Tri-Stats for sustain all around. Alright guys, so let's take a look at the gear that we're using on this build. So to begin, we are using the same gear setup that we were using last patch on Ghost. However, there are a few differences in the enchantments and traits from the last patch. So let's jump into it. The first set that we have is Slime Craw. This is going to be absolutely fantastic. We get that weapon crit and the minor berserk. Weapon crit's going to be great with the changes to crit. This past year, crit is so viable for PvP, great for our healing and our damage. And then minor berserk is super fantastic for a burst build. Templar does not normally have minor berserk, so we get it from Slime Craw here, and that's just going to help further amplify our already high base burst damage. The next set we have is the Griffon set. Weapon crit, weapon damage, and then when we deal direct damage, we gain minor force and minor expedition for 3 seconds, giving us 10% more crit damage and 10% bonus to movement speed. This is absolutely fantastic for this build. The movement speed is so great. Yet again, we want to stack that mist form movement speed, so that's going to help a lot. And then the minor crit damage bonus is super awesome too, because we have a great crit rate and our crits hit really hard on this build, and that's going to further amplify that. And a big reason why I like running the Griffon set as well is because we now don't have to use the Psijic Race Against Time buff in order to get that minor force buff. So we essentially can run a different ability in that slot, and I've chosen to go for a Fighter's Guild skill, so it's kind of like adding a little bit of extra weapon damage on the 5-piece of this set because we get to replace that ability. Now, taking a look at the next set that we have, it is the Sword Singer set. We've got max stam, weapon damage, weapon crit, 450 weapon damage to our two-handed abilities. This is absolutely BIS for a great sword burst build, especially this build. All of this is going to help deal damage, and then, of course, the weapon damage to our two-handed abilities will also increase our healing power with Rally, which is super fantastic because Rally is our only heal on this build. And then finally, guys, we have got the Master's Bow on the back bar. And this is there for that poison injection. It's going to help increase our damage against a target that we've hit with the poison injection. Now, if you guys do not have a Master Bow yourself, which I actually don't own on the live server and I am too lethargic to go get, I'm going to tell you, you can just run the Senche Bow here. You'll have a little bit more sustain, but it is really nice to have that extra sustain with the Senche Bow. And then another tip, too, is that when you're playing solo PvP, the Master Bow can be a more difficult weapon to use as effectively as something like the Sensei Bow as well. And the Sensei Bow will give you the regen at all times, whereas the Master Bow, you might not get those poison injections that you want just because you don't have time when you're playing by yourself. So that's just a little tip with this back bar weapon. It's kind of up to you what you want to go for here. All right, so let's take a look at the traits and the enchants on the weapons here. We've got the infused Master Bow with the weapon spell damage. Absolutely fantastic. So huge amount of buff coming from a light attack poison injection on this Master Bow. And then on the Greatsword, we have got Nirnhoned with the disease enchant. Love this combination on a burst build. Nirnhoned, so fantastic. The Greatsword, we want to stack as much base damage as possible because our ultimate ignores armor. So Nirnhoned Greatsword is definitely BIS for that burst build. And then the Disease Enchant is really nice because it will hit quite hard when it goes off. And then on top of it, it can debuff your opponent's healing power, which is going to help you apply that pressure that you need to finish them off. Now, taking a look at the jewelry, guys, we have switched to full infused this patch with weapon damage. Because we are a Bosmer, we get 10% from Bosmer, 10% from Minor Expedition, 10% from the Steed. That is 30% additional movement speed on this build, not including our medium armor. So that is absolutely fantastic. And then we can put Major Expedition on that, and we have 60% movement speed on Mist. We don't need to get any faster, to be perfectly honest. In our sprint, we're going to be at speed cap. We are very, very fast, if not as fast as we can get on this build. Now, you could go for more Swift here if you want, and that will just make you even faster in your Mist form, but your sprint will not be quicker. So I think in the interest of having the best balanced build possible, full infused is definitely the way to go for Wood Elf this patch. And then, of course, if you're playing this on something that's not a Wood Elf, you could go for Swift here, or you could alternatively go for a Swift enchant and then switch out the weapon damage for recovery if you need as well. And then taking a look at the gear, guys, we have got a mix of well-fitted and a mix of impenetrable. So we've got 4 well-fitted and 3 impen this time on Ghost. And because our stam recovery is quite a bit higher on the Wood Elf than it was before, I decided we could drop 1 well-fitted and go for a little bit more impen to help make up for that lack of bulk that we are getting not being a Nord anymore as well. So I do really like that change, and I think we can definitely afford to go for a little bit more impen. And then for the enchants, we are actually 6 maximum stamina enchants, and we have a single tri-stat Hacky Joe. And I went for the single Hacky Joe simply because we needed a little bit more magicka. I wanted to have 10k magicka on the build. I felt like that was kind of an important value to get to. The max health is also nice. It's going to put us around 22k, so that's great too. But because we're running the Orzorga's food, we can definitely go full max stamina enchants, and that's going to help supplement our damage as well and give us a little bit more healing. Alright guys, so let's take a look at the abilities we're using on this build. So starting off on our Greatsword bar, this is our Burst bar, the Hurt bar. Let's buff up so you guys can see these tooltips on Ghost this patch. So the Executioner is our primary finishing move on this build. We're going to use it to kill an opponent when they're at 50% or below health. It hits very hard on this build. If they're at like 20% health, it will most likely kill them. So a really powerful Execute. The next ability we have is Critical Rush. And it is coming in at a beautiful 7.3k tooltip on Ghost this patch. And then on top of it, we get that extra little bit of penetration on the Bosmer as well. So a little bit more on that tooltip just in the penetration department, which is super, super nice. So we got a nice, powerful crit rush this patch. I really like it. Now this, of course, will be your primary gap closer for the build. And of course, it will also hit very hard when you close that gap. You want to make sure to kind of stack this ability with like a partial charged or fully charged bow heavy attack into the crit rush, and then you get a nice big amount of damage as you drop on top of your opponent with this skill. Now the next ability we have is Evil Hunter. Now this is of course here to give us that Major Savagery buff, to give us 10% bonus to our weapon critical. We also get 3% bonus to our maximum weapon damage for having this slotted as well. And then finally, this is a great stealth detect. This is essentially the stamina version of Mage Light, so a super fantastic utility to fight Nightblades with. And on a build like this where we have so much single target focus and very little AoE, an ability like Evil Hunter is absolutely fantastic to help us fight those Nightblades because we cannot pull them out with our regular kit. The next skill that we have is Rally, and this is your primary heal for the build. We're going to buff up so you guys can actually see the rally heal over time. And here you see 1472 health every 2 seconds. And then when we reactivate the heal, we get that nice big burst heal. Really, really nice rally tooltip, I think. A nice, powerful rally. It's going to give us a huge burst heal when we use it. And, of course, it gives us that major brutality, which is just going to push our weapon damage even further. And there we see the rally tooltip fully buffed, coming in at 12k. Really nice stuff. And then finally, guys, we have got Binding Javelin as our primary stun here. And this is just going to be your stun. I really like it because it is a range stun as well, so we don't have to be up close to stun our opponent. It's a very fast ability, and it can proc Burning Light. It's really nice to animation cancel. And it fits really well with this build because it helps us do those really fast, snappy combos. And then for the ultimate on our Greatsword, we have got Onslaught coming in at a 21.5k tooltip. This is your best burst ultimate on the Templar, at least the Stamina Templar. It's going to hit super hard. It ignores the target's physical resistance. I can't stress enough how important that is. The fact that we can armor pierce with this means that no matter what we're fighting, no matter how tanky they are, they have to respect our damage, because if we hit them with that Onslaught, we can potentially drop them very, very quickly. So really great ultimate for that armor pierce. And then, of course, the armor that you take away from your opponent, you give to yourself for 8 seconds. So you get to make yourself really bulky after using this ability. And then, of course, we went for the Onslaught morph to return the cost of the ultimate if we get the kill with it. Really powerful kill move for this build, and in the footage you guys will see Onslaught working overtime. When you start to use this ability correctly on a burst build, you get it up pretty much as often as a Nightblade is whipping out the in-caps. Really great skill. Alright, so taking a look at that bow bar, the first ability we have is Poison Injection. This is your primary damage over time for the build, especially if you're running a Master Bow. Now, we don't really focus too much on wear and tear damage like dots and stuff like that. The big reason I like Poison Injection is because we get that Master Bow proc, and then when their HP's low, the dot from this can deal a huge amount of damage when it ticks. And that's what's really important, because when we're going for those big burst combos, if a Poison Injection tick follows up the end of that combo, it could be that little bit of extra damage to finish our opponent off. So that's why we got the Poison Injection here. It just helps us reliably take down opponents with our burst because of that execute attribute of the damage over time. And then for the next ability, we have Power of the Light. And this is going to be fantastic for the build because it will apply Minor Fracture, a little bit of an armor debuff, yet again increasing our burst on our target. And then for 6 seconds, the opponent will kind of accumulate the damage they take, and then it will explode at the end, releasing 20% of the total damage on them. So it's kind of a nice delayed burst ability. It's really good on this build when you time it right. You set the Power of the Light, then you go into your Poison Injection, partial charged heavy attack, crit rush, light attack, ultimate bash, and then your Power of the Light goes off, and you hit them for a massive combo like that. And that's pretty much how we use Pottle on this build. Really great skill for our burst. The next ability we have is Elusive Mist, your primary defensive skill for this kind of build. We're going to reduce the damage we take in Mist by 75%, and we get Major Expedition for a 30% movement speed buff. All of this is screaming so great for PvP. We're immune to snares and immobilizations, and we cannot be stunned while in mist form. Super fantastic. So the big downside to this ability, of course, is that our Magicka will not restore, and we cannot heal ourselves while in mist form. Our health recovery will continue to tick, however. This build is really built around this skill, to be honest. Ghost is a build that is designed to make Mist Form really work for the Stamina Templar, and we make our Mist Form really fast. We got a 60% speed bonus on our Mist Form on this build, so we're very, very quick, very, very durable, and it allows us to play that heavy kite game on a squishy, powerful, high regen build. Now, the next ability we have is Extended Ritual, and this is your bread and butter defensive cleanse on the Templar. Even though we have Mist Form to reduce incoming burst damage and help us get out of dodge, Extended Ritual will be your other Magicka skill that you are casting a ton of on this build. And that's just because you got a lot of negative effects in PvP. We remove 5 harmful negative effects when we cast this. That'll remove curses, damage over time, heal debuffs, everything. So important to use this ability on the Templar. You can greatly reduce the amount of damage you take beforehand by using your purge properly on the Templar. So a big reason why this build can function with just one heal is because we have that combination of Mist Form and purge on it as well. And then finally, we have got Restoring Focus. This is going to be our physical spell resistance buff, and it's going to give us some stamina back, the equivalent of 480 stamina recovery. Really fantastic, and the big thing about this stamina recovery is that it continues to come back to you while you're blocking, while you're rolling, etc. So it's not based off your regen. So this is a recovery that you'll get no matter what, and that's quite valuable in PvP as well. And then for the ultimate on the bow bar, I have actually gone with Temporal Guard this patch. It's up to you what morph you want to take of the Psijic ultimate, but I would highly recommend the Psijic ultimate for this build. The faster your build is, the better this ultimate is, teleporting you back to where you were 4 seconds ago and returning your resources and your health to where it was. Super fantastic. If we can clear a lot of distance, we can teleport back the same amount of distance we just cleared. You can throw off players really hard with this. It is absolutely great for PvP, and this ultimate will save you against large amounts of players. You can use it to effectively escape 20-man plus Zergs on a Templar, so really great stuff. And the reason I went with the Temporal Guard morph this patch is for the minor protection. Templar gains minor protection every time they use an Adric Spear skill. However, we're not spamming this Javelin. We're only using it when we need it for that offensive combo. So we are getting the minor protection on our back bar from Temporal Guard just to ensure that while we're in our mist form, we are as bulky as possible. But you can go for the precognition morph if you want, which allows you to use it while stunned. Very valuable as well, just from a speed gameplay perspective. All right, guys, so let's take a look at the champion points on this build. So starting off in the green tree, we've got 26 Warlord, 9 Sprinter, 6 in Bashing, and 1 in Siphoner. Focus on Sprint Warlord, followed by some Sprinter, and followed by Bash. We had 1 point left over for the Siphoner. We got to break free in PvP. We don't have a huge amount of points in here because we do a lot of blocking, roll dodging, mist form. Ideally on this build, you actually don't want to get stunned. Any opportunity you can prevent the stun, you should try to prevent it. But this is just for when you can't prevent the stun and you're just going to get hit by it anyway. And then, of course, we got a Sprint and Bash. In the Lover tree, we've got a nice equal spread on this spec. 49 Mooncalf, 43 Arcanist, and 32 in Healthy. Big focus on Mooncalf because that is our primary resource that we're going to be regenning. Followed up by Arcanist because we need that Magicka recovery, and then we don't neglect Healthy either. We are a Vampire, but health recovery is very valuable for PvP, especially with Mist form. Now, taking a look at the Shadow tree, we've got 48 Shadow Ward and 56 in Tumbling. A big stack in this tree to reduce the cost of roll dodge and reduce the cost of block. We got to roll and we got to block in PvP. Both of them are very important for this build. It doesn't matter that we have 2H bow. Block is still very important, especially since we want to prevent as much incoming stuns as possible. Now, taking a look at our blue tree, we have got nothing in the Apprentice. We've got 120 in the Atronach, 81 Master at Arm, 39 Physical Weapon Expert. All of our abilities are direct damage. Master Arm's fantastic for that. Physical Weapon Expert to increase our Greatsword and our bow damage as well. Our Greatsword heavies can hit quite hard, and they'll lead into a very powerful onslaught if we chain it like that. And then finally, we get that Tactician passive. We roll dodge to set an opponent off balance. Our roll dodge on this build is one of the most pivotal abilities we use for this build. It will set our opponent off balance, it will make us move faster, and it will increase our penetration. So yeah, dodging an opponent's attack is really, really going to mess them up. And then finally, in the Ritual tree, we've got 56 Mighty, 46 Piercing, and 48 in Precise Strikes. So a nice equal spread here. I decided to go a little bit more front heavy on Mighty, just because that would increase all around outgoing damage. But yeah, we've got a nice amount of penetration as well. I think our penetration on this build, we're going to be looking at over 6k penetration, so a pretty sweet amount, almost 7k penetration. So a pretty sweet amount for a build that's not focused on pen at all. And then some in Precise Strikes because we have that very high crit rate. The important passive that we get here is that Perfect Strike for that weapon crit, and of course the Exploiter passive for that bonus damage against an off-balance opponent. That's just making it more important to have the off-balance on them. And then finally we get Last Stand as well. Also a really great passive for such a squishy build because we will drop below 20% health in the course of PvP. And yeah, you'll get ultimate back, and that's very valuable. Psijic teleports, onslaughts, whatever you need. And then in the red tree, guys, our Steed tree is super stacked. 61 Ironclad, 60 Resistant, 10 Spell Shield, and 42 medium armor focus. Big focus on reducing incoming direct damage. A lot of burst is direct damage, so we need to reduce that incoming burst. And then same with the crit resist. A lot of heavy hitting attacks will be crits, so having a high crit resist in PvP is very, very valuable. And then we've got a big focus on medium armor and a little bit in spell shield. A Templar has innately a higher spell resistance than physical resist, so this is just to kind of balance out our different defensive attributes so they're even. And then taking a look at the Lady Tree, we've got 37 Hardy and 37 Elemental Defender for a nice even split to reduce incoming physical and magical damage. Nothing in Thick Skin because we have Purge. I didn't want to put any points here. You should be purging those dots, especially on a Templar. There's not really a good excuse for why you're taking a lot of damage over time. And then finally, the quick recovery for a little bit of healing power. And yeah, that is the build, guys. Alright guys, so let's jump into that PvP commentary. So we have two separate clips for you guys here today, and both of them are keep clips where we get to see Ghost in its kind of natural habitat, which is inside the walls of a keep. And I say this because Ghost is a fantastic build for PvP, but it really excels when you have some nice tight terrain to work with, and that's really what you get in a keep fight. So as you guys can see here, we have got a lot of yellow pouring into this keep, and I'm just going to do my best to put some damage into the front end of this group. And as you guys could see, we managed to pick up a couple nice kills right off the beginning there, and we're just going to loop around back behind the walls here and just reopen on these guys. A big part about this build is to make sure you stay mobile. You don't want to sit in one spot for too long, especially if your opponents are paying attention to you and putting damage into you. You want to continue to move around because we're just not bulky enough to really tank out a lot of damage, especially from a lot of players. So here we see a lot of players come through. We go into our mist form, and we just come back behind this pillar here. Really great call because there are so many yellow there. When you have a lot of players run over you like that, it's very easy for them to miss you as you mist through them. And as you see there, we managed to just sneak through, get a good stun off on this guy here. However, we see a lot of yellow come in, so I decide not to put the pressure. We get a nice stun off on her here, and then go for the light attack executioner bash. A little bit of a lag kill, but we do bring her down. And then I just work my way back inside and decide to put some pressure into these guys here. Get a nice stun off on the lower level player here. And he does not react really well. He just kind of doesn't break the stun or anything. But I take a lot of pressure from the other yellow players. And I decide that, okay, we're going to do a little bit of a defensive maneuver using that mist form to make it through there. Mist form coming in so handy. And there we see not only the strength of mist form itself, but the strength of going for the speed build on mist form. It allows us to quickly get through something like that. And here you see up top, we've been jumped on yet again by a Nightblade, and we're very low resource, so I'm forced into using my precog there. Go for the purge as I roll off the edge with the potion there, and we get back up to full health, but I have to run back around, and we're going to reset to fight this yellow group again. Now here come the yellow up the staircase, quite a few of them. I go into my mist form right away, manage to bait out an ultimate from the Dragon Knight, come up the stairs and just decide to go for a really quick cheeky res before the yellow come up, get a nice stun off on this guy here, go for the next stun on this guy, and there we see the onslaught going for that kill, bringing that player down, and we just do a great kite with dodge rolls, mist behind the thing here, purge, stun this guy, try to hit him with a big combo there. I decide not to go for the onslaught because I want to wait to have the right opportunity to land it. There it is right there. We get the onslaught on the roll dodge cancel, and we bring him down. And yet again, we pull the same defensive maneuver. We're going to roll and mist out into the purge, reset, and open on another guy. There you see that huge combo. Power the light into the stun. Onslaught, bringing that guy down, massive amounts of damage. This guy's throwing out the thunder shocks. We actually get a really nice block as I try to counter stun him there. However, we take a lot of damage from the yellow. I try to go for my ultimate to teleport back, but we take the fall damage even though the ultimate went off. That doesn't make any sense. That has to be lag. I'm not sure what to say, but however, that's how that fight goes. But there you guys get to see the firepower and the mobility. Now, this fight here, you guys see we enter the keep through the front door. And this is something that Ghost can do that a lot of other builds, I think, would really struggle to do. And it's something that specifically a Speedy Mist Templar can do, is get through that gap quickly and then purge their way out of it and heal their way through it as they have all the siege on them once they've misted through. So that allows us to get into the keep escape here and just kind of open on the guy on the siege there and bring him down. We decide not to attack the very tanky player and just come upstairs instead, but these guys are doing a lot of damage. We go for the precognition, and it's a little bit buggy. We are playing on Vivek, so it is a little laggy on this server when we use ultimates like the precog. This guy does not seem to be responding with much. He just kind of dies, and the other guy just was AFK, so he didn't do anything. So we didn't even focus him. Quickly bring down the first player there, and now we have got just this last guy here to fight. He's going to throw his shields up. We hit him with a really nice stun there, and I think he did get hit by a siege shot as well, so he takes a lot of damage, and we just take advantage of his vulnerability there to bring him down. This Templar goes for the Dark Flare. However, we stun him right away. Goes into his ultimate. We respond with our Mist Form. Really great call. Mist Form, of course, is going to tank the ultimate out and move us out of the line of sight. We go for another precognition. Yet again, it does the precognition animation twice, just because we're playing on Vivek. And now a Nightblade's coming up. Before the Nightblade opens, I go into Mist Form right away, just to make sure we don't take that damage out of stealth or the stun out of stealth from him. I try to work my way back up top, but I cannot open on these guys as we're getting cursed from a Sork here too. So I want to make sure to deal with that. Get a good stun off on this guy as he's not paying attention, but I take a bad roll off the edge, and I actually don't manage to capitalize on the kill there. So just go for a little bit of a kite back around into the tower here and re-engage with this Templar. And he's opening with Radiant Destruction. Maybe not the best call. We're going to try to maybe get a bash off that or something. And as you guys can see here, another yellow has come up, and an enemy negate has come down as well. The Sork throws the curse down on me. I decide to focus on the Templar here. Noting that the Sork is not paying attention and his shields are down, I quickly shift to him and go for that onslaught after the stun to bring him down. And there he goes. And now we've got just this Templar left to fight. And we're just going to try to put some damage into him. We've got him fully smacked with all the debuffs. Unfortunately, I hit the Javelin on the NPC. I think had we hit him with the Javelin there, we would have landed the stun. His block was not up. But he's just going to tank us out, heal himself up, and then head back towards the rest of the yellow in the middle of this thing here. Now, as he goes inside, the other yellow player, a CP15 player, oh my gosh, I feel bad, but I don't because there's so many, so I had to kill him. Yeah, we just bring him down right away. This sorcerer right there, I try to kill him with my onslaught, but we honestly don't deal enough damage, and then we just don't get the execute because of the lag, and like, oh man, it's just kind of how Vivek is, unfortunately. Like, Vivek is just laggy during prime time, and Ghost is such a fun build to play specifically in Vivek, specifically in these kinds of fights, but the server performance just can't keep up sometimes. And here you guys get to see Ghost in its kind of strong suit, but kind of struggling at the same time because we aren't able to get the animation cancels as clean as we want. We managed to pull this guy off to the side there. There we see the nasty stun. Go for a few executes on him. And we don't bring him down. Oh my gosh, he goes to 1% there, manages to heal himself up, and we just have to reset as this Sork's putting a lot of damage. And there you see yet again, what was I talking about? We go down and we just couldn't precog after breaking that stun, and that's just nothing but lag. But anyway, guys, that is the end of the build. I hope that you enjoyed the video. Like I said, if you liked it, hit that like button, and if you're new, hit that subscribe button. If you guys want to catch me live on Twitch, you guys can find a link to my Twitch down below in the description. We feature community builds as well as top 5 PvP clips. So if you guys want to send in any content for the community features, you can send it to KristoferESO@hotmail.com. And then finally, guys, we are sponsored by What the Fast. They're a VPN for gamers. They give me better ping to my favorite games, and they are free to try. No credit card to sign up. So there you go, guys. Thank you for tuning in. I really hope that you enjoyed the update on Ghost. I'm looking forward to playing it this patch, and yeah, I think that it's going to be in a good spot. I really am looking forward also to trying out Bosmer this patch. I might actually re-roll my Templar. So have a great night, everyone, and I hope to see you again next time.